Do you want to make a handmade gift for somebody for Christmas this year or for any time? I wanted to make sure that I got this video out in time for Christmas. All you need is some cotton yarn. You need a couple of stitch markers. This will mark the beginning and end of your row, just to keep track. And you will also need a 5mm crochet hook. So let's get started. This is going to be a very beginner-friendly tutorial. So if you have never done this before, pause the video, go find the utensils in your home, or maybe go purchase them and come back and restart the video at a later date. But with this video, you will be able to, even if you do not know how to crochet, I'm going to teach you how to make a dishcloth. So first you're going to take your yarn like this. You're going to wrap it around like that. So you're going to take your two fingers, you're going to wrap it around. So I've just got a loop. You're going to lift this up and put this through just like that. And then you have what is called a slip knot. And then you just take the smaller end like this and you pull it like that. And if you need to watch this again, just pause the video, go back and watch it again. Now what you're going to do, you're going to chain. So when somebody says you're going to chain a beginning chain of so many stitches, this is how you do it. So you're going to take your hook, you're going to go underneath the yarn, and you're going to pull it through the loop on your hook like that. You don't want to make it too tight. So there's your first chain. You're going to go underneath again, and you're going to pull through the loop. And now you have two. Again, you're going to go underneath, pull through the loop, and you have three. And we'll do one more, and then I'll meet you at the end. So we're going to go, so you went under like this, pull it through, and now you have four. So that is 4 chains. There are 4 chains that you have just made. So I'm going to make 26 chains, and then I will meet you back here. So now you should have 26 chains on your hook. So your hook is still attached and you have 26. If you need to pause, go back and look how to make the slip stitch, how to do the first chain, and so on. Just play it back as many times as you need to until you get to this point and you have 26 chains on your hook. Now, once you have 26 chains, you're going to, so this is your first one here that's on your hook. So this is just your loop. This doesn't count as anything. This one here is your first, that one there is your first chain on the hook. This one here, right there, is your second. So when it says go into the second chain from your hook, you're going to skip this one and you're going to go under the loop here. So you're just going to take your hook, go in the second chain, you're going to yarn under your yarn, and you're going to pull it through the second chain on your hook. Now you're going to see that you have 2 loops. So these are called loops. You have 2 loops on your hook. So with the 2 loops on your hook, you're going to, again, yarn under your yarn, and you're going to grab it, and then you're going to pull it through both loops on your hook. And pat yourself on the back because you have just made your first crochet stitch. That is your very first crochet stitch. And you're going to move on and you're going to continue this down the row. So this, you just made it into that one. So now you're going into the third. So you're going to take your hook, you're going to insert it into this stitch, you're going to yarn under, you're going to pull it through the loop, and again, you have 2 loops on your hook, you're going to yarn under, and you're going to pull through both of those loops on your hook. And give yourself another pat on your back. You have made 2 crochet stitches. What you're going to do at this point, I'm going to take my stitch marker. I always like to do the second one and then I can see the first one. So this is the second one. I'll point to it with this here. Hold on. This is the second one. So this is the second one you just made. And this is the first one you just made. So the first one here, this one right here, see, this is first and second. Sorry, this is your second and your first. So you're going to take your stitch marker. This is a stitch marker and it marks your place. You're going to take it and you're going to put it just underneath that first stitch like that. And these ones are great because they close. So you just give it a little pinch like that and it closes and it can't come out. So that is the first stitch of your row. So if you were just beginning, this is the easiest way to make sure you don't miss the first stitch when you come back again. And we have this one for the end. So we're going to, let's do the third one. So you're going to take your crochet hook, you're going to go into the third stitch, you're going to go under, grab your yarn, pull up another loop. So you have 2 loops on your hook. You're going to yarn under, pull through the 2 loops, and you have just made your third. So we're going to do one more, and then if you don't have it yet, you can go back and replay until you get the hang of it. You're going to go into the next stitch with your crochet hook. You're going to go under the yarn, you're going to grab it, you're going to pull it through just like that. So you have 2 loops on your hook. You're going to go under, that's called yarn under, and you're going to pull through the 2 loops on your hook. So this is what you have right now. So you're going to do that, the same thing all the way across. And then when you get to the end, I will meet you back here. You can play it back as many times as you need to until you get to this point, and then you can move on. Okay, now I went across and I did the 24 stitches. So this is going to be your first row. So I've left the 25th stitch to do on here with you guys together. So we've got 24, so that's number 24. And then I'm going to go into the last one. So here's 25. Just like that. And now you have now completed your very first row of your crocheted dishcloth. So give yourself a pat on the back. Good for you. So now what you're going to do is you're going to chain 1. So now you're going to learn, you chained, so you know how to do this already because you chained the 26 at the very beginning. So all you're going to do to chain, you're going to go under and you're going to pull through that loop on your hook. And that's it. Just like that. Now watch what you're going to do next. To do your second row, you're going to take your first row and you're going to flip it. So now it's reversed. So now it looks this way. So now your stitch marker that you had is on this side. So what you're going to do, you're going to have a stitch marker now on this side too. But first, you got to make the first stitch. So here we have your stitches. So I'm going to show you this one here, let me get this out of the way here. Hold on, let's tighten this up. We'll tighten it up. Okay, so your first stitch is right here. Right there that you just made. So there it is right there. So right here. So that one's the second one. I'm going to get my little pointer here. So this one, let me get it in the camera. This one is your first one, right beside the chain. And this one is your second one. So what you're going to do is take your hook and go into the first stitch. So your hook, I'm going to show you up close. Your hook is now underneath. So it's through that first stitch, or sorry, the last stitch of your first row, if we're being correct. So it's through the last stitch of your first row. And then you're going to yarn under. So your hook's like this. You're going to yarn under, pull through. Again, you have 2 loops on your hook now. You're going to yarn under and you're going to pull through those 2 loops on your hook. And right away, we're going to hold on to this and we are going to insert this. Actually, you know what? I'm going to show you it easier so you can see it better. First of all, before we do that, because I'm going to make sure that you understand where that first stitch is and what it exactly looks like. So before we do that, we're going to go in and insert into the second stitch. So there's the second one right here. So right there. And you're going to yarn under. You're going to pull through. You have 2 loops on your hook. Yarn under and pull through those 2 loops, just like that. So this one here is your first stitch. I'm going to go back just for a second because I did loosen this stitch. So we're going to let's redo this stitch. It's good practice anyways. So the second stitch is here. We're going to go underneath, yarn under, pull through, yarn under again, and pull through those 2 loops. So there's your second stitch. So now it's a little easier to see the first and second. So let me grab my little stick here. So here is your first stitch, which you're going to put your stitch marker into, and there is your second. This is your chain that's on your hook that you're working along the row with. So we're going to take this and put it in like that. So now it is under the first stitch of the second row. So this is your second row that you're doing. So this is the first stitch of the second row and the second stitch of the second row. And we're going to move on and do the third stitch. So the third stitch, so if you don't want to keep turning up here to see, your third stitch basically just goes through. See these little kind of holes? See the little holes? I'll put it on the blanket so you can see. So see how there's little holes that you can see? So we're going to go right into that hole. So keep an eye on that hole. So that's right underneath the stitch. So that hole is right under. So that's the stitch. And there's the little hole. So we're going to go in. So let's make sure that's snug. Make sure that your loop on your hook is always kind of snug. And you're going to go into that little hole, which is under the third stitch. See that? Just like that. And then you're going to go under. So yarn under, pull through. You have 2 loops on your hook. Yarn under, pull through the 2 loops. And now you have your third stitch done. And there you go. So we're going to do one more. So there's the little hole there, and it's underneath the stitch. So that's the 4th stitch. So we're going to go in there, underneath the 4th one. You're going to yarn under. You're going to pull it up. So you got 2 loops on your hook. Yarn under. and pull through the 2 loops. And now you have started your second row of your dishcloth. Look at that. So there's the first row. And you've got your second row started. Good for you. You are doing an amazing job. So keep doing that all the way down underneath all those. So those are the stitches. So if you turn it like this, you can see all the stitches. And if you want to go by the side, you can just go in through the little holes because that's underneath the stitches. But those are all, let's see if it focuses. Those are all the stitches that you see when you turn it like that. So this is the next one that you're going to go into right here, like that. And we will do one more. So we're going to yarn under. We'll pull it through like this. Now you have the 2 loops. You're going to yarn under, and then you're going to pull through the 2 loops. Look at that. You are making your very own dishcloth. I am so proud of you. So I am going to continue along, and I will meet you at the end of the row, and we will turn one more time before we work up the row. Okay, we're back. I just realized I never told you what stitch you were actually doing. So the crochet stitch that you are using to create your dishcloth is the single crochet stitch. How silly of me to not even mention that in the beginning. But you are making a dishcloth using the single crochet stitch. So we've gone across here, and now we've gotten to where our stitch marker is. So for beginners, the best thing to do would be to leave that in there, and you're going to go through that stitch. So sometimes it's a little tricky. So you're going to go through the stitch with the stitch marker, and then again, you're going to yarn under. You're going to pull it through, yarn under again, and pull it through the 2 loops. Okay, so now you can take your stitch marker out, and then you're going to use it again on the next row. So now you have now completed 2 rows of your single crochet dishcloth. Look at that. Way to go. Okay, to move on to your 3rd row. So when you're turning, you're going to keep turning. So you're going to keep turning your work. So this is the same thing you do for each row. So now that we're at the end, you're going to yarn under, and you're going to pull through the 1 stitch to make that chain. Each row starts with a chain. So that's called a chain 1. And then you're going to turn your work. So now you're going to work back in the opposite direction. So what I'm going to do is make the first 2 stitches, and then I'll put my stitch marker in. So what we're going to do here is, there's our first stitch here, right there. And there's our second stitch. So we're going to go into, so you can see the hole. You're going to go into the first stitch, yarn under, pull through. You have 2 loops on your hook, yarn under, pull through the 2 loops on your hook. There's your first single crochet stitch of the 3rd row. Let's do the second one. Here is the second one right here. That's the second one. So you're going to go underneath. See there? You're going underneath. You're going to yarn. You're going to go under, and then you're going to pull it through the loop, and you're going to yarn under again, and then you're going to pull it like that. So now you're going to be able to see. Let's move this out of the way. There's your first one right there, and there's your second one. So you're going to put your stitch marker into this one. So again, take your stitch marker, and you just go underneath, just like that. So underneath, just where your hook goes, and you're going to clip it closed. So now you've got it marked. So you're going to make sure, so this helps to make sure that your dishcloth or your blanket or whatever you're making doesn't go all wonky on you. So you're going to have a straight edge. So it's going to be an absolute straight edge. So now you're going to go into the 3rd stitch. So there's your 3rd one right there. So you're going to insert your crochet hook into the third stitch. You're going to yarn under. You're going to pull the yarn through. You now have 2 loops on your hook. You're going to yarn under, and you're going to pull through the 2 loops on your hook. So you now have 3. So you have 1, 2, 3. So let's do the 4th one. So there's the little hole. There's the stitch we're going to go into. You're going to go under there. You're going to yarn under, and you're going to pull it through like that. You're going to go under, and you're going to pull it through the 2 loops on your hook. And now you have started. See how it's straight? It's straight. You have 4 single crochet stitches in your 3rd row, and you are on your way to making your very own dishcloth, your single crochet dishcloth. How awesome is that? Good for you. So now you're going to finish across, and I will meet you at the end of the 3rd row. Okay, we are back, and we are now at the end of the 3rd row. So we have one more stitch where the stitch marker is. So again, we're going to take our crochet hook, and we're going to go underneath. I'll show you. You're going to go through where the stitch marker is, onto the last stitch. You're going to go underneath the yarn. You're going to pull it through that last stitch, just like you've been doing. Yarn under again, and pull it through the last 2 loops on your hook. And then you're going to do your chain 1. So to chain 1 again, you're going to go under the yarn, and you're going to pull it through that loop. And then you're going to take this, you can take this stitch marker out now. Let's take that out. And you're going to turn your work like that. So you have now completed 3 rows of your single crochet dishcloth. Give yourself a pat on the back. Good job. All right, we're going to start this row. So you're going to, there's the first stitch right here. So you're going to go into the first stitch right here. You're going to go underneath, pull it through the stitch. You're going to go under, and then you're going to pull it through those 2 loops. So there's your first stitch of the 4th row. And we'll do the 2nd stitch again before we put the stitch marker. So you can see the little hole there, because that's underneath the stitch. You're going to go in here, right there. You're going to go under. You're going to pull it through. You're going to go under the yarn again, and you're going to pull it through the 2. So now for your 4th row, you have the 2. So there's number 1 and 2. So you're going to put the stitch marker here. So again, you go like this, just like that, and then you close it, just like that. So now you've got 2. So we're going to do the 3rd one. So there's the little hole. We're going to go underneath here, and we're going to go under, over the yarn, pull it through, and then you're going to go under and pull it through the 2 loops on your hook, just like that. So now you've got 3 stitches of your 4th row, and you're going to continue this all the way up, and you're going to do this for 25 rows. That will give you a complete square. So this is your 4th row. So the best thing to do is either they have things that are stitch counters, and you can click the buttons, or on a piece of paper you can make little tallies. because sometimes as a beginner, it's harder to see the rows. At the very end, I will show you how you can count your rows. So basically this here is 2 rows, and then you're on your third. And so this here, how it combines, that's 2 rows, but it's a little bit tricky until you've made it. I can show you at the end, but just get a little piece of paper and 25 rows until you have a square, and then I will meet you back here. We're back, and I have now finished my 25th row except for the final stitch. So here is where the stitch marker is on the 24th row. So we're going to go in the stitch, we're going to go under the yarn, we're going to pull the yarn through just like that, yarn under, grab the yarn, pull through the 2 stitches, and you have now completed your 25th row. Look at that. You've actually finished your dishcloth. The only thing you have left to do is fasten off, and I'm going to show you how to do that. So right now you have 1 loop on your hook, and all you're going to do, the easiest way for a dishcloth to fasten off, all I do is take my scissors. Let me grab some scissors here. I leave probably, I always leave extra, so I'm going to leave about that. So I don't know how long that is, but it's that long. Okay, and then what I'm going to do here is, now that I've still got this on my hook here, I'm going to yarn under, and I'm going to pull through here, but instead of doing anything else, all I'm going to do is take that and keep pulling. So you're going to keep pulling just like that. Keep pulling until it's all the way through, and then I'm going to give it a tug just like that. For a dishcloth, you're going to be using this a lot, so I like to give it that fasten off. We can fix it and make it look all pretty, which I'm going to show you how to do, but for a dishcloth, because it's going to be well used, that knot is very important. So now you can see where your stitch markers are. That's at the beginning of the 25th row, and then this is still in the 24th row. So we can take these out now, and I'm going to show you how to finish your dishcloth. So right now you have this. Don't worry if it curls up a little bit, it's okay. It's because it's cotton yarn, and because you're using cotton yarn, you are going to have holes through it. It's not going to be tight as if you were making plushies. You're making a dishcloth, so you're using cotton yarn, and cotton yarn, this is what cotton yarn does. So see how you can see my blanket through it? Okay, so I'm going to show you how you can count your rows easy if you lose count. So you're going to find the side at the very bottom that looks like this. See how it's a little bit bigger? I'm going to flip it over here, and see how that's small, and then there's a bigger one? You're going to flip it this way so you can count your rows if you've lost count. So this here is, this is 2 rows, so 1, 2, so you can count up these big gaps. So this big gap is 2 rows, because over here that's 1 at the bottom. So you got to go to the side where you can see them. So we're going to count by 2. So this is 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, and then there's half of 1, so that's 25. So we've got 24 and then 25. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, and then the half one is 25. So now you know how to check your rows if you lose count. And your rows on the edges, because you used your stitch markers, will look like this. So these are the sides, and there's your bottom and your top. So I'm going to show you how to weave in your ends. Okay, so here's the long piece that you left. So what you're going to do, these needles work amazing. They have a little lip on here. I don't know the actual name of them, but they are amazing, but you can use any needle. So you're going to thread that on there like that, and to weave in your ends, you're simply going to find some stitches, and I like to I'll just go through those like that. Doesn't matter which side you do. And you're going to pull it through like that, and that kind of fixes your corner where you did the knot. And then the easiest way to weave in your ends, you're going to work down a row. So I turned it upside down, and I'm simply going to go through some of these stitches. So 2 stitches is normally enough. So I'm going under the 4 loops, 2 stitches, and I'm going to just pull this like this, like that, and then you can just fix that. And then the best way to secure, see this loop here? You're going to skip it and go under the next one, and then through a couple of others, and then pull like that. And then going back, you're going to skip this one. It just helps to secure it by skipping a stitch, and it won't pull it back through. Because if you pull it back through the same one, you're going to pull it back the other way, and it won't be secure anymore. And then like that. And 3 passes should be enough. Give it a little pull. Just make sure you didn't pull your dishcloth out of shape. And then you can just give it a snip. Just make sure you don't snip your dishcloth. Okay, so there's the first one weaved in like that. Okay, and now you're going to do the bottom one. And I always leave a tail at the bottom. I will make note of that at the beginning of the video. So hopefully you did that. We're going to thread this on like so. And we're going to do the same thing. So we're going to go, I'm going to just bring it to a row. So I'm just going to go down here, just like that, so I can get to the row. Just like that. And then I'm going to use the second row. So I'm going to go under those, give it a little pull. I'm going to skip this one and go under a few of those ones, just like that. Oh, my needle came off. We need to do one more pass. So I'm going to pop it back on. And then we're going to skip this one and go under a couple of those, just like that. Try to stay not going through. So you're just going through like the loops. You're not actually going through the actual dishcloth. Just like that. And like that, give it a little pull. Make sure you didn't pull it out of shape. And then give it a little cut. Make sure you don't cut your dishcloth. And I'm going to show you the final dishcloth. There, you did it. You made your very first single crochet dishcloth. You can gift this to somebody, you can use it yourself, and I hope you make many, many, many more. I'm going to have other tutorials of other stitches. Maybe the next one I will do a half double crochet, which works up a little bit quicker, but I started off with the single crochet stitch. So you just made your very first single crocheted dishcloth. Give yourself a pat on the back. You deserve a treat. Make sure you like this video if it was helpful. You subscribe for other videos. And I really hope that you enjoyed making this. I hope you can make them in all the colors and you can gift them to family and friends. Thank you for hanging out with me, and I will see you next time.